Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Around the Table. Welcome, friends.
Hi. Hello. Hi, friend.
Just kidding. Today, we're going to talk about something really, really special. We're going to talk about identity. And I think that I just want to start it out by saying that identity is a really big topic in today's day and age. And as Christians, our identity is always rooted in Jesus first and foremost. But there's also the topic of how our identity is formed at birth, from what we're born into. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit today with my friends. Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Jojo. You go.
What do you mean, Jojo?
What do you think? Let's first define, what does identity mean to each one of us? Yeah. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah. Jeff.
Joe.
Let's see. Heather. Let's go.
We're kind of tired.
Okay, so when I think of identity, I think of the scripture, Ephesians 2:10. For you are God's masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were created good works as his good works, right?
Yes.
Right. And so when I think about that, I think about every single one of us has incredible value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we as women, we have incredible value. And oftentimes that's where the struggle with identity is because people don't recognize they have value and they don't believe that they're valuable.
Yeah.
Right. So that scripture to me is an anchoring point of identity. And it reminds me of a story. Just really quick. It's okay to dive in really quick?
Yeah, let's go.
So it reminds me of a story. One time, my husband and I, we had gone to Napa because we lived up in Northern California for a while. And we had gone to Napa to an art gallery because our senior pastors, she was an artist and she had her work in a gallery up there. And so we had gone to the gallery and Keith had gone off into this other little room and I hear him shouting from the other room, Heather, come here. He's like, you have to see this. And I was like, what is he looking at? And so he was looking at this picture of this little tiny painting. It was like an 8x10, okay? And he was covering the price tag on the wall. And most times they don't even put the price up there, but this one had it. And he's like, guess how much this is worth? And I was like, I have no idea. $5,000. He's like, no, keep guessing. And I'm like, 10? He's like, no, guess again. And so finally, up until $25,000, like we're staring at this little painting and it was 25 grand.
Wow.
And I was like, there's got to be a story.
Yeah.
Why this painting is $25,000 and that one that's the whole size of the wall is only $5,000.
Right.
And so I called over to the art guy and I was like, hey, can you tell us the story behind this artist? And he's like, oh yeah. He said this particular artist started painting royalty. And the queen got wind that this artist was painting royal figures and said, I want to purchase his work. And so the moment the queen paid for...
Put her stamp on
his work,
Right.
the value of his work went through the roof immediately. And that's what I think of when I think of our incredible value, because Jesus paid the ultimate price for every single one of us when he died on the cross for us. And that determined our value because he paid the price and that makes us his masterpiece. So it's like I think of that story and I'm like, wow, like Jesus paid the ultimate price, so that makes me incredibly valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he paid for us. So
Right.
anyway.
I think about like what you're just saying, and so like that's the end result, is going into that belief system and knowing that as a foundation in our hearts and our lives. But then there's all of this other part from the beginning until we get to that place in our lives where we actually know and identify that and believe that. How about for you, Jeff? Like what's a piece kind of in the middle that would help bring identity to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think of how our identity is formed. So what does identity mean? It means, who are you?
Right.
And why is that such an important question, right? And just kind of going back a little bit like, it's a huge issue right now, especially in this generation, where identity is now like the lines are blurred and everybody's trying to find their value, but we've deconstructed understandings of identity. And so to answer your question, I mean, for me, it's always goes back to, I love that story about the painting because it's like that was valuable because somebody put a stamp on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the creator of the universe put a stamp on all of us when he knit us together, formed us in his image. We get his stamp, and so that makes our value, which I know that's the point of that story.
Yeah.
But I think when you're growing up, you don't realize you're just trying to figure out, like, where's my place and who am I valuable to? And am I valuable, or am I just like everybody else, or whatever? And so I guess it's really, for me, it's like, why is it important to understand who you are and why you're valuable? Because that's really, everybody wants to be seen and known and valued and just feel like I'm seen and known and loved, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the craving of every heart.
Right.
So yeah, I would say for me in the the end, like you said, the end result is just being rooted and grounded and knowing that I am a daughter, I am beloved, I am his workmanship and his beautiful masterpiece, his poema,
Stamped by the king.
Stamped by the king. And then but the process of that is coming out of whatever you've experienced in your life that maybe didn't align with that, or that told you a different identity. You're the troublemaker, you're the hard one, you're too emotional, you're, whatever. And those, so different identity labels can be placed on us.
Yes.
And I think so much of identity really is unraveling the false stamps that were put on us and then walking into our true stamp, as his beloved and his creation.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
What about you, JoJo?
Yeah. No, I mean, very similar. When I think of identity, I just think it's those words spoken over our lives that we take to heart and that define who we are, right?
Yeah.
And so whether that's negative or positive, but in some way it's put kind of a stamp or a label or just a sense of like, oh, this is who I am. And I know we've talked about it in past episodes, like, you're the smart one, you're the athlete, you're, the pretty one, you're the funny one. Yeah. All of the labels that we can get. And again, there, there's positive and negative ones. But they really, I think, just thinking of my own experience, I really took those to heart and that really defined what I thought and felt about myself. And so, as you mentioned, identity, when we come to the Lord, is really coming to the place of truth of like who he says we are and unraveling the untruths of where we've received something that was spoken that it still might be true. You're the pretty one, but that's not your identity. Your identity isn't in what you look like. Your identity is actually in me and what I say about you. And I say you are beautiful, but that's not all you are. There's the layers of what he calls and identifies us as, but that comes through, spending time and really hearing the voice of God in our lives.
Yes.
And that takes time. That
It
takes
does.
time and intentionality to do.
I think too, another thing with identity that gets hard or gets messes people up is rejection. And so, if you've been rejected or you fear you're going to be rejected, you might act a little different. I don't want to get rejected, so I'm going to be different than who I really am, or I'm going to
hide.
You kind of hide, or you try to change who you are because you don't want to be rejected. And the beauty of being a daughter and being the Lord's is that we're never rejected. We always are loved and embraced and valued by him. And so, like, where else? The rest of the world that doesn't know him, they don't have that. Because you can always be rejected by anything else, right?
Right.
But he never rejects. So I think that's the piece for me that's like, I'm never rejected by him. He's never pushing me away or wishing I was someone else. or wishing, why aren't you more like whatever, So identifying the things that keep us from walking in who he says we are is important too.
Yeah.
Is it a rejection that I had in childhood? Is it, what is it? Am I trying to be somebody else? That's the other thing is, we can we look around and go, oh, I love that about Joanne, or I love that about Robin, or I love that about Heather. I'm going to be more like that, which is great. We can learn from each other.
Yeah.
But then it's like, but then who are you? Like, you can turn into kind of a chameleon of like, well, I like them too, so I'm going to be more like that. And then you get like, who am I? So I don't know. There's that comparison piece, and all of that plays into it too.
Yeah. And I think when you struggle with identity, it's easy to kind of acquiesce to other people's personalities or other people's likes or preferences, and then that becomes your thing too, right? And then you have to kind of have that moment of self-discovery, like, wait a second, do I like eggs? Like, because so and so liked eggs, I say I like it. All of that.
I like goat cheese.
Yeah, I know you don't. You don't like goat cheese. I love goat. Being okay to be fully ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I remember in terms of like identity and kind of recognizing where I had like taken on so many things that were either said or that I believed about myself in the context of, family, relationships, community, is when my husband and I, he got transferred, a company transferred to the Middle East. And so when we went there, it was like I fell off the planet, because at the time nobody knew where where I lived, and it was Dubai, and it was before Dubai was Dubai. So it was like, where are you going? It was, people were like, you're in Saudi Arabia, and I was like, no, we're in the United Arab Emirates. It's very different. However, it is the Middle East. But when we went there, I was so isolated because obviously, like, had no friends, had 2 little babies, my husband was at work full-time every day. I was alone in like a temporary apartment. And I remember just thinking like, oh my goodness, like I had to kind of figure out like, who am I? Because my community was gone, my friends were gone. It was back in the day before it was easy to just, there was no FaceTime. It was like a while. It was a long time ago. So, but it really, like, I came face to face with like, Joanne, you don't even know who you are, because all of these safety nets you've created with people around you, and just kind of becoming whatever you felt like so-and-so needed, or whatever the situation,
that's a big one.
Right?
Yeah,
like whatever the
becoming
situation was, it's like, oh gosh, what do I like? I really had to struggle with like simple things like, what do I like, in terms of this or that, or, and it was simple as like food or, decor, or, cause I was just alone figuring those things out. But that was such an aha moment for me, that, okay, wait a second, I have to be mindful that this is my tendency if I'm not going to be like really grounded and really secure and understanding who I am and what he says about me.
Right.
So,
okay. You go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, that's why I love the movie Cinderella. That story of, her father passing away, obviously, and then like just being raised by the stepmother and then the 2 daughters, and just all of that story of like how she was defined by something that was never her portion. Even just naming her Cinderella, her name was Ella, actually. And Ella means beauty, and then she became the queen or princess, whatever it was. But it's those things that are like, that we partner with, like what you just said about being something for somebody, or partnering with things that aren't really even part of our identity.
Right.
And she pushed through that, and then she became the chosen one. But there were always people around her telling her what she was not.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I think that's a tendency in at least I think for us in general, I don't know about you guys, but I think in our human nature is to go to the negative, right? Like we tend to think or like lean toward the negative in things. And if that's kind of our upbringing or our context for how we've either received things from people or how we've been experiencing that place of identity, it's kind of been bent toward the negative, then it's really it's a process, and it's
Yeah.
you have to be really intentional about diving deep and unraveling that.
Yes.
You know, yeah. What were you
Yeah,
gonna
I
say?
was just going to drill down on what you just said, actually,
Yeah.
of what Joanne said. That was such a profound statement of being who somebody needs you to be. And that was definitely
That's huge.
in my life. Like, I've had a lot of people throughout my whole life say, Jeff's just so easy. You know, Jeff will just roll. And I do. I'm easygoing. I roll with things. But it goes back to that, like, why do we make efforts to be what somebody needs us to be as opposed to just coming in who we are? Now, sometimes we can come in who we are and we're like a bulldozer and we run everybody over. So there's that too. But, you know, understanding and having self-awareness of how people are experiencing you is super important, which we may have to have an episode on how
Emotional intelligence.
how people experience me.
Yes.
But when you're worried that you're going to get rejected, if you act like who you really are or what you really like is this, and people don't like that about you, they may delete you or reject you or whatever.
Right.
And so
Right.
I think that's an amazing story when that you got completely separated from everybody and you just had to figure out, who is Joanne? What is she like?
Yeah.
What does she want out of life? You know, as opposed to, well, I'm going to be who my mom needs me to be, or my sisters, or my friends, or the church, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that's, I don't know, did you guys feel that too? Like that being who somebody needs you to be? That's wow.
Yeah, I was thinking too about, you know, whenever, like going back to the whole masterpiece thing, and, you know, the definition of masterpiece is an original work of art.
Right.
Okay. And so that's what I love about, like, it's saying that we are God's masterpiece because it speaks to the individuality of all of us, right? Like, you're an original. There's no one else on the entire planet that can do you the way that you do.
Yes.
You're the only one that can paint your expression on the canvas of life.
Yeah.
And I love that because, like, it just speaks of our value and what we have and what God does in us and how we are wired. And that's the value that we bring to the people in our lives that we get to connect with. And I was thinking about, like, with that, like, masters, like, when you are learning how to create and learning how to do art, oftentimes the students follow the master and they learn how to paint like the master does. And they do it, and they can mimic and copy the master almost like exact, right? I mean, there are going to be little things that are not exactly, but they get to a point where they're really, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And in that process is when their becoming happens. It's like they learn the form, but then as they behold the master, as we behold the master, then we become we become who we are, truly who we are. And, you know, sometimes there's pieces of, you know, our parents or our friends or, you know, all of those influence our lives, but the true unfolding happens whenever we behold the master.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Agreed. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful description of, like, it's made in the image of God, you know, and that's the journey, like, from the beginning and just figuring out, like, who am I? What am I? What am I meant for? Like, how do you see me? You know, 'cause there's so many lies formed in throughout our journey of life that we have to recognize that we don't partner with, or we shouldn't partner with, and dismantle those. You know, because there's this whole, like, legal system, like, in the spirit realm that's against us. You know, from beginning to the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about how the enemy goes after mankind, how he goes after every human being, what does he want to go after? Who we are.
Identity.
Because actually we were put on
That's
the
where the
planet
threat
to
is.
be
Yes.
God's image on the planet, to be fully who we are, because there isn't another one like us. And so what does the enemy do? I mean, we're watching it right now. Like,
Yes.
all these kids that don't know who they are, and this gender confusion. And, like, I was thinking the other night, I think that's one of the most dark, sinister plots, is to get you to question your core identity and who you were born to be. It messes up everything, you know, and it just, it's so critical again, to just understand, like, it goes back to there actually is a big, loving, amazing God. He's actually real, and he actually created you. I love what Heather said. Like, there is no other one like each of us. And if I don't be Jiff, who's going to be Jiff?
Right.
There isn't another one.
Nobody.
Joanne doesn't. If Joanne doesn't be JoJo, nobody else can fill that. And so that gives us that's where our value, like, people that are just like, I'm not important, I'm not valuable. If you don't have a concept of a big God who created you and knit you together, like, he dreamed about you, he celebrates you. Like, you just picture him knitting each one of us in our mother's womb, and I'm going to throw this in, and I'm, like, dreaming his creative masterpiece, his poema, right? That, it's like, if we really knew who we were, we would never
Question
what is that?
it.
Is that Steve Backlund? It's like, if we actually, I'm forgetting something.
I know what you're thinking.
But it's like, if we really walked in who we were, we would never get stuck again. It's like, I just need to understand who I am to the Lord, and it's just so critical.
And I think I don't know. I don't know if you're thinking about this, but as both of you are talking, I'm thinking about the issue of identity. It can really become about conformity, right? That the world and people and, whatever it might be, it's like there's this draw to conform for acceptance or approval, right? It's like a draw, like, if I'm like this or like what they like or do what they do, then there's an acceptance, a belonging, a conformity that kind of plays in there, weaves in there. And that's what I think what you were talking about, as well as you, Jeff, that it's that uniqueness, that unique piece that we have to go back to. Like, you're unique, and you're unique for a reason. And God specifically created you for a purpose that is unique unto you. And so don't forget that. Don't forget that in your place of identity and what he is speaking over us.
Hey guys, we're going to just pause right here. We want to continue this conversation into part 2. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on Instagram, aroundthetable_Inc. And we're so glad you came to be with us today.